If Keffe D is found guilty of Tupac murder, will it be any concern for his safety in prison?
Yes, I think he's in big trouble if he goes to prison. Who's bigger than Tupac? Anybody?
It's a sight Tupac's family and millions of fans around the world doubted they'd ever see. 27 years after his killing, Duane Davis, a man long known to investigators, in court charged with murder.
So they finally got the guy they're saying called the hit on Tupac back in '96. His name's Duane Keefe D. Davis. The cops had their eyes on him for a while as one of the early suspects. He's not the triggerman though, but they're pinning him as the head honcho of the crew. They nabbed him in Vegas recently, slapping him with a murder charge. The wild part is, he's been blabbing about his role in interviews and even spilled the beans in a tell-all book called Compton Street Legend. Believe it or not, his big old mouth reignited the whole investigation. He cuffed him while he was out for a walk near his Vegas pad. Now he's got that murder charge hanging over him. And if the jury throws in a twist about gang stuff, he could be looking at an extra 20 years behind bars. We got our hands on a boatload of transcripts that they dropped on Friday. They spilled the beans on the grand jury biz, which kicked off back in late July. They ended up hauling in some of Keefe D's old buddies, Pac's pals, and even some retired cops from the good old days. They were all jabbering about the beef between Tupac's label Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records, the home of his rival Biggie Smalls. That's what lit the fuse of this whole East Coast West Coast hip-hop rivalry showdown started in the 90s. And now the first ever arrest in this whole mess happened when the Vegas cops raided Keefe D's crib in Henderson.
Metropolitan Police Department. We have a search warrant for the resident. Please come out with your hands up and your hands empty.
They said they were hunting for stuff related to Tupac's murder. Keefe, who's still sitting in the slammer, didn't want to chat, and there's still no lawyer listed to yap for him yet. We tried to hit him up, but he and the missus ghosted our calls and texts since the early July raid. Now, Tupac's sister, Set Shakur, called this arrest a win. She said the silence for the past 27 years has been deafening. She wants the whole world, the country, the courts, everyone to realize how big of a deal Tupac's passing was. She wrote this on her social media page. This is definitely a turning point. The silence around this case for the past 27 years has been loud in our community. It's crucial that the world, our country, the justice system, and our people understand how significant the loss of my brother, my mother's son, and my father's son really is. His life and death matter, and we can't let it go unsolved or unnoticed. So yeah, today's a win, but I'll hold off on passing judgment until all the facts and legal stuff are done. There have been many hands in this, and there's so much more to know about Tupac's life and death and our whole Shakur family story. We want justice, no doubt. Back on the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was rolling in a BMW with Suge Knight, the boss of Death Row Records. They were waiting at a red light near the Vegas Strip when a white Cadillac pulled up and things got messy. Shots rang out and Tupac got hit multiple times. He didn't make it. He was just 25 years old. In his memoir, Keefe D spilled the beans that he was riding shotgun in that Cadillac and snuck a piece into the back seat. Where Keefe claims that's where the shots came from. He started pointing fingers at his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, saying Orlando was one of the guys in the back. So Anderson and Tupac had this beef and even got into a casino scrap just before the shooting. Anderson bit the dust just 2 years later, in 1998, and he always said that he had nothing to do with Tupac's death. We couldn't get a hold of these lawyers who used to rep Suge, and Suge himself took a bullet fragment but got away with minor injuries. He's now locked up in Cali for an unrelated manslaughter rap, serving 28 years. On July 17th, Vegas police pulled a sneaky little maneuver and surrounded Keefe D's place, where he lives with his wifey, Paula Clemens. They swooped in with SWAT teams, and it looked like a disco with all those red and blue lights. They collected a ton of stuff, including computers, a cell phone, bullets, pics, a magazine with Tupac on the cover, and a copy of Keefe D's memoir. Greg Kading, a retired LAPD detective who went down the rabbit hole on Tupac's case and wrote a book about it too, is not surprised at all by Keefe's collar. He says Keefe threw himself right into the mix and gave the Vegas cops the goods they needed. Kading also saw this murder charge coming too, all thanks to Keefe D's big mouth. He reckons Keefe was part of this plot from the get-go. Now, as you can imagine, a bunch of folks from the hip-hop community had something to say about Keefe's arrest. One of the first people in line, believe it or not, was Ice-T. And if you ask Ice, things are looking quite grim for Keefe, as he might be locked up until his very last days. Ice-T recently chimed in on the whole Duane Keefe D. Davis arrest and indictment in connection with Tupac Shakur's '96 murder. In a chat with one interviewer, Ice-T dished on the latest twist in the long-standing mystery, and he's got some strong opinions. Ice-T basically said people just can't keep their mouths shut. He's talking about all those interviews and chit-chats Keefe D did with DJ Vlad, Art of Dialogue, and others in recent years.
I'm not gonna go into details on that one. Keep your streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
I keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the backseat, bro.
He's also kind of scratching his head on this one, wondering why it took so long to nab Keefe D when the authorities knew about his involvement all along. He's saying that LA probably had the lowdown on how things went down from the start. Ice-T can't wrap his head around why it took law enforcement ages to make this move. Now, according to him, if you're in the same car as someone doing a crime, you're part of it. And if you hand me a gun and I use it for something shady, you're a part of it too. It's like you're helping the crime happen, you know? The seasoned actor Ice-T wrapped up by predicting that this reputed gang member is pretty much looking at life behind bars. He's not too optimistic about Keefe D's prospects, especially because all the things he's blabbed about. Ice-T pointed out he spilled the beans about everyone else in the car. As far as Ice-T sees it, Keefe D dug his own grave, and he'll be spending the rest of his days in the slammer. No need for any other witnesses to testify, according to him. Just last month, Las Vegas police hauled Keefe D in after a Nevada grand jury threw an indictment his way, charging Keefe D with murder using a deadly weapon. If Keefe gets convicted, he's gonna look at an extra 20 years due to his gang activity, as reported by the Associated Press. Now, while law enforcement isn't saying Keefe D pulled the trigger, they're reckoning that he was the mastermind behind this whole operation. Ice-T wasn't the only one online who chipped in with something to say about Pac's death and Keefe's involvement. As you can imagine, 50 Cent, the roast legend, had something to say himself. See, his comments were pointed at another person who's actually involved in this mess too, but the officials never spoke up about him. P. Diddy. 50 Cent isn't holding back when it comes to Sean Puffy Combs. He's been making some noise about it, and he just dished out some friendly advice for Puff. The way 50's looking at things, Puffy should get himself a seriously good lawyer. Now, why is that, you may be asking? Well, it all started when Keefe D spilled the beans, suggesting that P. Diddy might have been mixed up in the Tupac Shakur murder from the start. According to Keefe D, Diddy wanted Tupac and his whole crew out the picture and was ready to drop a cool $1 million to make it happen. One source got the scoop on the transcript of Keefe D's chat with Detective Greg Cadden during the interrogation. They just kept on grilling him, asking for the nitty-gritty details of the conversation. Keefe D spilled the beans, saying he and his crew were after a cool mill. We wanted $1 million, he admitted.
We'll give you anything for these guys' head?
Yeah, he said it in front of all the people. I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
In Anaheim?
Yeah. Whole room full of Crips.
So this is after Jake got killed. So he was on point. He was worried about something happening.
Yeah.
She had miles off about a bunch of different stuff. So he was scared.
He was scared to death. Yeah. Okay. We wanted $1 million.
He tells you seriously, man, I need to get rid of these guys. I mean, he's looking at you in the eyes and he's like scared.
Yeah.
He went on to elaborate, sharing that they had a sit-down where someone said, I want to get rid of those guys. Keefe D was all in, saying, we'll take care of them real quick, no problem. And once Keefe D's transcript hit the scene, 50 Cent couldn't resist chiming in on Instagram. He posted, damn, so Pop got lined by another brother? LOL, time to lawyer up, might get sticky. He added a pic of Tupac in that iconic black BMW, the exact same one from the infamous night when Tupac got shot after the Mike Tyson fight in Vegas back in '96. Puff Daddy hasn't fired back yet, but Keefe D is claiming that he never got that $500K that Puff supposedly promised him. Comments on 50's IG page blew up quicker than TNT. One person wrote, anyone who don't think Diddy was the one behind this, listen. 1. Why was Orlando Anderson at MGM? He didn't see the Tyson fight. 2. Who capitalized most off Pac and Big's death? 3. Right after Pac got killed in Vegas, months later, Diddy at Mace shot the Feel So Good video out there. Balls. 4. Listen to Hate Me Now, a year and a half after Pac was killed. Listen to the shit Diddy is talking in that song. 5. Keefe D and Orlando Anderson were still chilling with Diddy and Bad Boy after Pac was killed. They were confirmed with them the night B.I.G. died and the Notorious Thug's studio session. Put the pieces together, y'all. Las Vegas Metro Police thank me later. They're pointing the finger at Orlando Anderson as Tupac's shooter, even though there's a hint of Bad Boy's Records involvement. The official word from the authorities is that the drive-by was payback for Tupac's scuffle with Keefe D's nephew at the MGM fight. Anderson's the guy they're naming as Tupac's killer. According to Keffe D's confession, this whole saga kicked off when Orlando Anderson swiped a chain from a death row affiliate a few months prior to the brawl. Keefe D also mentioned that he handed over the murder weapon to his nephew, all because of Tupac's black BMW's position. As for LAPD's retired detective Greg Kading, who knows the ins and outs of this murder case, he had a chat with Rolling Stone. He pointed out that if they wanted to make a strong case, they'd need some more solid, reliable witnesses who can back up Keefe D's claims. These witnesses would have to step up and say stuff like, "I was there when I heard him make the solicitation," or "I was there when the money got paid and it was clear it was meant for this," or even "I handed over the cash." But Kading isn't sure if these folks even exist. Kading also put a bit more context on it, saying, "I've always given a caveat about the whole Puffy Combs connection. Puff isn't cut from the same cloth as Suge Knight, and I don't believe Puffy was intentionally trying to have Tupac or Suge taken out. I'm not a fan of Puffy, but I don't see him as a murderer." But what y'all think about Keefe's recent arrest and his future life in jail? Is he gonna survive out there? Let us know what you think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with a homie or two, and as always, remember to keep it RIZZLE.